Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys.
And I'm Blake Silverman, writer for Detroit Bad Boys, covering everything Pistons, and news writer for Sports Illustrated.
All right. And guys, as always, if you are tuning in with us live, be sure to drop your comments and questions into our live chat. We're going to try to get to those, as many of them as we can anyway. But we actually got a good amount of pre-submitted questions, even a couple of voicemails from our guy, a fella too. And there's plenty of just fantastic Pistons basketball to talk about. But Blake, I got to ask you this first, all right? Because you've kind of become like my culture guy. Like, you know more about what's going on than I do. So one of my students today, a couple of my students, said that I'm like quarter zipped up. What the heck does that mean? Like, they were joking with the, like, is this good? Is it bad? For everyone that's listening, but I am wearing a quarter zip right now. Like, but it's a sweater. It's cold outside. So, like, am I doing well? What does this mean, Blake?
That is funny. And honestly, you might be a little bit ahead of me on this one. Like, I know enough to know that the quarter zip is having a moment right now. I don't really know why or how this started to happen, but
how could just like a genre of clothes have a moment?
I don't know. Like, my understanding of it is just quarter zips are in and the young crowd is like running with it. Like, I've seen a few TikToks about quarter zips that I don't really understand. But I think it's a good thing. So
I'll take this is just big quarter zip trying to increase their sales. It's got to be. I don't know. But I'm just thinking about it now. I've worn like a quarter zip sweater like 3 class days in a row for that group on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because like it's cold, man. I don't handle the cold well, Blake. I just don't. I'm freezing. It's not even into the 30s here in Chicago. It's just mid 40s, and I'm like shivering in class. I don't like the cold.
Yeah, and when it gets to like summer, fall into just the colder weather, it's so much harder. And then when it hits 40 degrees come April or whenever that happens, then I'll be right in shorts and t-shirts. But I'm with you there.
Yep.
The adjustment has been hard, and everyone starts getting a little like under the weather and stuff. But it means that we're chugging right along the basketball season too, and we're getting to the meat of it as well.
Yeah, we sure are. And look, I really wanted to open up the show talking about Jalen Duren, because I think the development we've seen from him over really just to start the year, but really in the month of November here has been not only impressive, but kind of game changing for, I think, where this team is and where they can go. All right. So just to read it off, and then I want to get your take on kind of what we've seen from him these past 8 games. But these are 8 games in November. He's shooting almost 72% from the floor, averaging 33 minutes played per game over this 8-game span. 24.3 points, 13.1 rebounds, and 2.3 assists. And like, I know we're talking about Duren in the middle of an 11-game win streak, so maybe we're like burying the lead here, but I think it's related. I think what we've seen out of Duren has unlocked something here that just hasn't quite clicked until right now. So what have you seen out of JD?
Yeah, and it's pretty impressive that, obviously, we can say this about many different players stepping up, but Jalen Duren missed, I believe, 2 games during this win streak, and Cade Cunningham missed a few. Tobias Harris has been out. Obviously, Jaden Ivey is yet to make his season debut, but Jalen Duren doing what he does, even when Cade Cunningham isn't even out there, is super impressive to me. And just overall, my main takeaway from Jalen Duren this year is we've always known he has the size, the athleticism, and everything to be that dominant type of player down low and offensively. And we know all the defensive stuff that we've talked about at length, but I feel like he's really taken that dominant ability that he has and taken it to another level. And it doesn't even just have to be rolling on a pick and roll to a basket and getting a lob from Cade or whatever it is. He's finding different ways to score around the basket. He's been really good from the free throw line, and he's been maybe not perfect defensively, but I think he's been a bit of a leader on that end too. Even if we can nitpick some things and we're looking for some growth there, but we're talking about a guy who is certainly putting up all-star numbers right now. And I'll have to send you this or put it in the chat, but Basketball Reference has like a MVP ladder based on a model that they have. And I have to check it most recently, but I checked it earlier this week and Jalen Duren was number 4, higher than Cade Cunningham on this. So it obviously we're only through 15 games of the season. Jalen Duren's played 13, but he's just putting up all-star numbers. He's taking that leap. I think it was Vinny Goodwill that tweeted out he's making the new contract talks really straightforward on both sides, which we can talk about at length, and there's a ton of the season left, but he really does seem like a big piece of this franchise moving forward, and answering a lot of questions right out the gate. And overall, if he continues what he's doing right now, like he's having an all-star season. There's no question about it.
Oh, I completely agree. Like, I don't want to say the defense doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter nearly as much anymore. If you're getting, 22 points plus out of Duren and also about 12 rebounds. Like, here's the thing. It's entirely wrong at this point to say that his offense is being generated by Cade Cunningham. Some of it is, but what Duren's kind of done here is that he could just take opposing bigs off the bounce. Like he's kind of developed. It's not even a throwback game necessarily. It's very modern. He's a face-up big as a 6'10", 260-pound, chiseled from marble kind of crazy athlete. Like, he's just quicker than most bigs. He's got a pretty good handle right now, which again is like leaps and bounds ahead of where it was last year. And the touch around the rim that we've seen as 100% translated, because he's always had some okay touch when he's just being a play finisher. I mean, it's hard to say a guy has good touch or bad touch when 90% of his shots are dunks, right? Like, yeah, that's all good. But he's got a little bit of finesse in his game, and that's flashed in the past. But now it's being paired with that off the dribble game. So here's what I'm going to say. If he keeps doing this, right, because the change from October to November is huge, right? We're talking 10 more points per game difference, all right? But if this is the guy, if this is who you have in Jalen Duren, you've got your second star already on this team in Detroit. And I think if you want to ask the question, like, well, what has been happening in Detroit that's unlocked this 11-game win streak? What has been happening in Detroit that has allowed them to be where they're at in the Eastern Conference, leading it by a couple of games, not just by a slim margin, but by a couple of games? It's the fact that now the Pistons have a player that we've been searching for quite some time. We've been talking a couple years now. Could Ivy be the guy, right? Where if Cade Cunningham is just really being targeted by the other team's defense, you could get him the ball and he can get you a bucket. Could Ron Holland maybe be that guy, right? That one day you could give him the ball and he can go get a bucket. Could it be Asar Thompson? He's super athletic. Could he be the guy as a secondary playmaker to make something happen? It's Jalen Duren. It's been Jalen Duren. In a pinch, they've gotten him the ball not only in the short roll to have him create, right? And Go Blue bringing up Duren 7+ free throw attempts per game. That's huge, right? They don't have a guy other than Cade that really does that. Asar's getting close, but the consistency with Duren, and he makes them, is fantastic. So you've got your second star right here. I completely agree. If this is who we got offensively, it not only answers a bunch of questions for, who's Duren, what is he going to get paid? He's going to get paid big bucks. But it also means, when we're coming up to the trade deadline, don't talk about Lauri Markkanen. They don't need a second star. They've got one. They need to kind of work on structuring the rest of the roster around that now. But it's been incredible to watch. So much fun. to me, that's what's unlocked. Like if the Pistons exceeded expectations last year, it's because the coaching staff, the system, the vets, Cade taking a leap. If they're exceeding expectations this year, which they are so far, is because Jalen Duren has leapt into being a star, and a star in a way that really complements Cade.
Right. And who would have thought that we would be having this conversation 15 games in? I mean, of all the conversations we've had in the past on who is going to be the number 2 guy on this team, and I feel like what a lot of people have hinted at is that player is probably not on the roster right now. It could be Jaden Ivey, but he hasn't been on the floor since late December last year, I believe, or early January. And then for Jalen Duren to come out and do this, it helps answer a lot of questions, like you said. And it really does make the roster, like whatever moves are in the future, super interesting because, like you said, maybe they don't need to give up control over all of their draft picks to bring in a second guy like Lauri Markkanen, because we saw what Desmond Bane got over the offseason and everything. Getting a player like that is not going to be cheap, but maybe you can make a move like the Cavs made for DeAndre Hunter last year, or something in a similar vein where you don't have to give up all of your assets. And beyond Cade and Jalen Duren, you obviously have all these other interesting young players that if you're going to go out and trade for a good player, you're probably going to have to part with someone, give up something to get something, and some draft capital. But maybe it's not selling the farm and putting the chips all in to bring in an unknown, because you have this player who's only just turned. Didn't he just have his like 22nd birthday 2 days ago?
Sure did.
And
that was a funny post-game interview with Cade after that Hawks win.
Oh, yeah. I mean, great timing for them having, 3
There's
days
nothing
off.
in Atlanta, right? Nothing in Atlanta to celebrate.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's fine. I don't know. Who knows where the Pistons still are right now. Hopefully they're recovering from that.
Milwaukee.
But well-deserved celebration there. Because yeah, he's just taking that dominance to another level. To me, it's obviously you have to sustain it, but there's not really a reason that he won't. And he's just one of those guys that is hard to defend. I mean, obviously there are the Victor Wembanyama's out there and the elite defenders, but when you look at the Eastern Conference, there aren't a lot of teams who can defend Jalen Duren that well. I mean, I think the Cavs are probably one of them, which is another conversation, but he has the ability to dominate night in and night out, and is still 22 years old. He could even get better.
Yeah, like he's flashing an elbow jumper right now. Are you good? Is this an athletic Greg Monroe? Like, for a deep cut there for Pistons fans? Like, what is this has been, I was texting Bryce this at the end of the Hawks game. Like, this season for me has been so fun, not only because obviously they are the best team in the Eastern Conference right now, and that's winning's fun, but how they're winning is fun with all these injuries. They got these culture wins that are laced in this big winning streak that they're on. Incredible. And then I've been wrong so much now, it appears, and that's just awesome. It's so fun. Like, I didn't see any of this coming for Duren offensively, not at all. If you had suggested it to me even over this most recent offseason, it'd be like, it'd be nice, but no, I don't think that it's there. I was wrong. It's there, and it's incredible to watch. And you know what else this is all doing? This makes the two big lineup feasible. Because I was sitting there, I'm watching that Atlanta Hawks game. I'm like, why is this working? I've got like a 28-game losing streak that tells me this should not work. What is different? Isaiah Stewart's the same player. You want to know what's different? Jalen Duren can take guys off the bounce, right? That's it. That's really what unlocks that too big lineup, because forever, right? The problem was, well, if you run Isaiah Stewart off the line, then you've won as a defense. And it's not like you could have Jalen Duren be an ISO guy either. So like your front court just has no ball handling. Well, it does now. And all of a sudden that too big lineup looks really dang good. I was wrong about that. Like they're making the spacing thing work. I was wrong. It's just been so fun because it's wrong in like the most positive way. And it's always enjoyable. So I'm loving it so far. It's been great.
Yeah, and again, it's just who could have thought that this was going to be what was to come over the first 15 games of the season. And it is about the too big thing. It is a little funny to me that JB Bickerstaff has fallen back into this like too big situation, where that's obviously what he had in Cleveland, and there were questions around that lineup. And I think JB even said himself, that's not his ideal way to have a starting lineup and manage his rotations, but that's just how the roster is built, and playing your most talented players alongside each other. And it worked for them. It's starting to work for the Pistons. And in this win streak in general, Cade misses some time after that Cam Whitmore situation, and you think, okay, this is probably where it ends. It's tough to win without Cade, but you saw them win 3 games without Cade, and you just expect them to win night in and night out. Obviously, some tough games are coming up, but there's not really a team where you could have said this last year too, like you didn't think they were going to fold and really get blown out by anyone, but this year it's hit an even bigger level, and you just expect them to win, which is so new, and just nice to see. Like all the players have talked about loving giving the fans all these wins and something to cheer for. It's definitely exciting to change that sort of aura around the team, and they really expect to win. And who knows what the ceiling is. We talked about the wide open Eastern Conference, and there's still some of those top teams, and there's Giannis that's still out there. So it's not going to be easy, but I think they've asserted themselves as a team who can contend in this conference. And we'll see if there are any trades that come up during the season and how those impact things. But overall, the guys they have right now are obviously winning, and there's no reason, obviously an 11-game win streak isn't going to last the entire season, but they're just a winning team, and it makes it that much more fun. And it's someone different every night. Jalen Duren's doing his thing. Cade as well when he's out there. Dennis Jenkins has been incredible. We'll talk about him. But just so many guys are stepping up in different ways on different nights, and it's been super fun to watch.
All right, 2 questions on this, and then we'll kind of move off the subject and get on to some other themes from the past week. But a good one here from Pistons fan says, I really want to ask, does this offensive growth by Duren change your thoughts on Asar and Holland and the fit together with Jalen Duren?
I think it makes it, like, I don't think that what Jalen Duren is doing necessarily makes either of them the odd man out or anything like that. I think maybe what we will see is maybe one of them comes off the bench and that's just their role moving forward. I mean, we saw Dennis Jenkins start over Asar the other night, and I think that was well deserved with this run that Dennis Jenkins is going on. And obviously it depends on how Ron Holland's shot progresses. If you have Isaiah Stewart in the starting lineup too, that makes things a little bit more tricky. But if you know that Duren and Asar aren't going to shoot more threes, and if Isaiah Stewart's out there, he can shoot the 3, but he's not the most volume 3-point shooter or natural volume guy. So Ron Holland is really the swing guy there. So maybe it is like Ron starting, Asar is coming off the bench, or vice versa. But overall, I think both Asar and Ron Holland are athletic wings, which are the most valuable players in this league. I don't think it should change anything super drastically, like making either not fit on this roster. And also, of course, they both help a ton defensively in terms of Asar, and Ron Holland is getting better too, and he's an energy guy. So I don't think really either of them should necessarily be on like there shouldn't be a fit question in my mind. It's just like, how do you work the rotation moving forward if this is what it's going to be like for the next years to come?
So Ron Holland has to shoot no matter what. Like that's just for him, regardless of Asar and Duren, and regardless of anybody else on this roster. If Ron Holland's going to get to where we would like him to get to as fans, he has to shoot the basketball at least league average or near it. All right. So like, that's just kind of baked in with him. So, I'm worried about that until he does it. So that's just what it's going to be. He needs to keep improving in that way. I think the question with Duren and Asar is really interesting. And what it seems to me like we're witnessing is this is viable in the regular season. I am skeptical if it's viable in the playoffs. And that makes this a little bit tricky because right now, how should I put this? Generally speaking, you want spacing for the guys that handle the basketball the most for you. So this is why it's been a problem in the past to have Asar and Duren out there together. It congests the floor so much for Cade Cunningham. But with the amount this year that both Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren have been handling the ball and doing so effectively, it's allowed that kind of imbalance to flow a little bit better, offensively speaking. So Cade's a floor spacer. Right now, Stu's a floor spacer. And Duncan Robinson obviously is a floor spacer in every sense of that word. He's the best one that they've got. So Duncan Robinson's been vital here because he's got enough gravity too that he even can sometimes pull help his way from Asar's defender. Like you've seen that if you watch, you can see this. It happens every now and again. Asar's in the corner, Robinson's on the wing, and they rotate up. They'll send Robinson's guy harder on help, and they'll lift up Asar Thompson's guy to try and cover the shooter rather than sending him down to the paint. So like Robinson has a ton of gravity. That's been really, really nice. So it's working more or less right now. But in the postseason, when everything kind of slows down, defenses get even tougher, and you're exclusively playing against a team that's for a minimum of 4 games, scouting you, specifically, adjusting to you specifically. I am worried about that. So that part remains to be seen. But I do think that they are showing with this unlocked ball handling, it really helps. It really does help with that spacing thing. The other thing I wanted to ask, it's kind of related to this comment here from M Go Blue 7. It says, I do think you need to figure out if Beef Stew can start at the power forward with Cade, Duren, Asar, etc. So what I wanted to ask you, because we just got the announcement today that Tobias Harris is joining Jaden Ivey with the Crews and some practices to try to ramp them back up for their return. Both great news. Is there a reasonable argument to bring both of them off the bench when they return?
Yeah, I really think there is, and maybe it doesn't stay like that for the long haul. But I think immediately it's almost if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of thing. And I really think Dennis Jenkins is just finding more and more minutes. Like he is a real player. So that makes the Jaden Ivey question. And I think it makes Jaden Ivey's life a little bit easier as he's coming back from missing so much time. It just doesn't make him get thrown into the fire right away. But that said, like, I think long-term, at least for this year, you want to see him in the starting group and seeing what he is. And if you can commit to him long-term as well, Tobias Harris is a little bit more interesting because you know how big he's been for this team last season, even before his injury this season. He's on an expiring contract. If the Pistons do want to make any sort of trade that's bringing in someone that makes a decent salary, you pretty much have to include Tobias Harris. And other teams are going to be interested in acquiring that expiring contract. But similarly, Isaiah Stewart is one of the best rim protectors in the league. He also spaces the floor. And it seems like it's been working with him at the 4 as of recent. So just continue that. And if you have to make a change after a few games, if Tobias Harris would help and then bring Stewart off the bench, I think that would make sense too. But I think immediately there's no need to rush them back with how the rest of the group is playing.
So I agree with you. And I also agree that I think that the power forward position's the more interesting one. With Jaden Ivey, like, he looked really rusty in the preseason, and then that injury kind of robbed him of that entire ramp up period. So like I think it's in his best interest to kind of take him along slowly. And if you're playing him off the bench next to another ball handler like Karis LeVert for 15 to 20 minutes a night for a month or two, I think that honestly that would be pretty beneficial to him. I don't know if that's what's actually going to happen. JB's talked about in the past that he doesn't believe you could lose a starting spot or a rotation spot due to being injured. But this might be a unique situation because not only do I think Ivy probably benefits from a slow play, Duncan Robinson's shooting is vital to that starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's a little bit more unique. With Tobias Harris, though, it's interesting because Isaiah Stewart really has a couple things going for him if this pairing does work. And so far, looks pretty dang good. Isaiah Stewart's a better shooter than Tobias Harris, and he's a better defender. He's actually probably an all NBA defense caliber defender if he gets enough minutes to qualify for it. And if you can viably put that in your starting lineup with, by the way, your other all NBA defense caliber defender in Nassar Thompson on a team that's kind of predicated and based itself on physical defense, beat you up in the paint, I kind of wonder if that's too good to pass up. And if it's viable long-term, like that's a big deal. We were talking earlier this year about Isaiah Stewart's playing some of the best ball in his career. It continues to be hard to justify not playing him somewhere near 30 minutes a night. You want to know it's a great way to get Isaiah Stewart 30 minutes a night and Jalen Duren 30 minutes a night? Start Stu at the 4 and stagger him at the backup 5. Unfortunately, that means no B-ball Paul minutes again. But you absolutely can construct a 9-man rotation with Ivy as your backup point guard and Isaiah Stewart as your starting 4 and backup 5. Same way that you could construct a rotation with Ivy as your starting 2 and your backup 1, right? I'm honestly really tempted by that. And again, if you had asked me if that would be a good idea at any point before like a month ago, I might have just left the conversation and not responded. I don't think it would have been viable at all. And here we are. So better shot blocking, better defense, better shooting. Yeah, you're losing a little bit of ball handling, but hey, that's what JD's been doing. I'm intrigued. I really am. I'm really intrigued.
Yeah, and in the offseason, we talked about how Isaiah Stewart is going to get more minutes, and maybe it would be tough if he is the backup 5, even though that seemed like his true role and best role last year. But if you're getting him minutes alongside Jalen Duren, that answers that question right there. And when Tobias Harris returns, if it's not working or the starting lineup needs an adjustment, or even if it's just as simple as, like you mentioned, staggering Stewart or Duren out pretty early in the game and bringing Tobias Harris back in, especially if either of them get in foul trouble, it's an answer right there. And I think it's just a matter of playing your best players who've really like powered this winning streak, and Duren and Stewart have been two of those guys. So I think it's just going to be hard to limit that once these injuries get sort of behind us, even if JB doesn't want to rock the ship too much and wants to keep Tobias in there. I think we even talked about if Tobias does stay on this team and maybe he signs a much lesser deal over the offseason, transitioning to a bench role as he gets later and later in his career, that seemed like a pretty viable option to us. And maybe it just happens sooner rather than later because of how your younger players are playing and figuring out alongside each other, which I think is the ideal outcome overall.
Yeah, the only other thing I want to add is that the other reason that this is so intriguing to me, beyond just the fact that Stu deserves more minutes at this point because he's playing so well, he's such a good defender, and they're kind of proving that this can work. Isaiah Stewart and Asar Thompson, they really do have a sort of synergy that is fun to watch. And if you could get that pairing out on the floor more, I think that's only beneficial for everybody, right? Because when you're talking about maximizing your talent that's out on the floor, you're also talking about maximizing the pairings, right? The guys that play together, you want them out there together more often than not. And Asar Thompson plays really well with Isaiah Stewart. It frees him up to be even more aggressive out on the perimeter. He doesn't have to worry about kind of roaming as that like low man rim protector as much, which, you know, he does an all right job of, especially for a guy his size. But if Isaiah Stewart's doing it, big help for Asar Thompson. Obviously, he's ridiculously switchable as well. The funny thing with all of this is, like, if this were 25 years ago, Duren would be a 4 anyway, and like we'd be looking for some 7-footer to put next to him, right, to be more physical down low. And now you got kind of this modern version of it where Duren's handling the ball enough, or at least it looks like he is, and it looks like he can, and maybe he's going to get that elbow jumper too. And you can put a modern stretch big next to him and Isaiah Stewart, and all of a sudden you got something pretty unique as long as this continues to hold up. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's all really fascinating to watch, but we've spent a half hour here kind of talking about giving JD his props all well and talking about a little bit Isaiah Stewart, and we've neglected some of the non-star players, right, that have been really driving at least the recent iterations of this Pistons win streak. So we got two related questions here about Dennis Jenkins. One from Gil Medina on Twitter, another from KCP for 3, and it's through. So we'll just kind of talk about both of these. First, from Gil, can Dennis Jenkins be the third guard in a rotation? Right, so you got Cade, you got right now it'd be Duncan, and then your third guard could be Dennis Jenkins as well. KCP for 3 says, should Dennis Jenkins be signed to a standard contract immediately and be heavily considered for normal rotation minutes? And just so we're all on the same page, Dennis Jenkins as a starter in 35 minutes per game. Now, this is only 4 games, but still 4 games as a starter, 19.3 points, 8.8 assists, 3 rebounds. Dennis Jenkins has been unbelievable. Almost 50% from the floor, 37% from 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think my answer is just yes to all of these questions. Like, and the third guard, I mean, to me, the third guard on this roster was Marcus Sasser, and I think Dennis Jenkins has even exceeded what Sasser's role would be if he's healthy. Like, I think Dennis Jenkins might be answering your backup point guard question right now. Obviously, we're talking about a 5-game stretch here pretty much, and there's other guys are going to come back. We'll see how that works and everything, but he just looks like a real NBA player who isn't afraid to go at anyone and can score the ball with ease and also is an impactful defender. He seems like the guy that us fans have really been looking for the front office to find a diamond in the rough, whether it's in the second round or undrafted free agent in Danis's case. So, I mean, I think he should be on a standard NBA deal. I think the team is just letting it go and using up his two-way allotments. I mean, we see a lot of those guys get converted toward the end of the year when those numbers get slower, but Danis is good enough where I feel like you gotta lock this guy down eventually. Obviously, again, only 5 games of like true minutes and the scoring outbursts that he's had, but he just looks incredible. And all the time we spent talking about the backup point guard over the offseason and what that's going to look like. Yes, Jaden Ivey is going to come back, but Danis Jenkins will make Jaden Ivey's life a heck of a lot easier. And really over this last stretch, Danis Jenkins has just been a joy to watch. One of my favorite parts of watching the Pistons during this stretch. So I think the front office should do what they can just to give him a standard NBA deal, a true spot on this roster, because he deserves it.
I do think it still makes a ton of sense to keep him on this two-way. Like his games, even if he plays the next, I think he has like 38 games left. Even if he plays every last one of those, like the next 38 games for the, I think they get past the deadline. So I think he just, as long as he can, you kind of keep him on this two-way deal because he's really a steal on it. But yeah, man, Danis has been so fun to watch. He's just a Piston. You know what I mean? Like every now and then there are guys in the league that just, they give off that vibe. They just play in a way that just seems like, yeah, that's Detroit Pistons basketball. And Danis, he does that. Like you said, diamond in the rough. I do think, maybe don't put the cart before the horse sort of deal. Like I'm really excited about Danis. I've been excited about him since summer league and he's playing really well. That said, like, he shouldn't be a starter, right? Like he's probably not a 25 minute a night kind of guy off the bench either. I think it 100%. If you want to say Danis Jenkins should be the backup point guard in Detroit until Jaden Ivey gets back, I'm with you. But like, understand that's 12 minutes a night on average, right? Like it's not a huge role. I think he'd be really good at it. And actually, I honestly would like to see him in that role exclusively until Ivy gets back, just so that you have a base, like, just in case you don't want this to be a player that needs the volume, because he's really never going to be a guy that gets this kind of volume consistently, or at least you don't think that he will be. Maybe he proves everyone wrong, and this is kind of an Isaiah Thomas type rise, like with the Kings and then later on in Boston. But at least from what you would expect, like you're still thinking he's on track to be a very good backup one day. And especially in Detroit, where that would be some limited minutes there behind Cade Cunningham and then injury relief outside of that. I don't think you can, I just don't think you can lose him. I'm right there with you. Like if some other team comes coming along, calling and says, hey, we're going to play this, we're going to pay this guy, I think you have to match or exceed it. Like he's such a great culture fit. He's such a great city fit. He's a play style fit. He does everything. He's athletic. He's big. He can handle the ball. He gets guys involved. He can shoot, plays great defense. I love how aggressive he is on that end. Trash talks like nobody's business. Like that, man, you have to keep him around. He fits so well. So yeah, like as soon as that deadline passes, don't just like sign him to a standard deal, like multi-year. Yeah. As long as he's willing to sign for, keep him around. Because at this point, barring injuries, I think Danis has proven that's an NBA player. And that's a Piston NBA player. So you gotta capitalize on that.
Yeah, just do what you gotta do. You gotta keep him around. You gotta find minutes for him at least while this stretch is going on, because it's been. And the thing is, I don't think it's a fluke or anything like that. I've seen some like social accounts say he's kind of on a Jeremy Lin type run. And I don't like Jeremy Lin was a decent player after his Knicks run, but I think Danis can be a true player, impactful rotation piece for this franchise for a while. And I mean, we'll see what's to come with his deal and everything like that. I mean, the guy was nominated for Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Like, I'd love if someone did some research to tell me how many times a two-way player got those honors, because I'd have to think it has been pretty rare. So you just have to do what you got to do to keep him around. If it's converting him from the two-way sooner than you maybe thought, that's just a win in my book, honestly.
And can I just say quickly, like, Danis fits well with Karis LeVert.
Mhm.
Danis fits well with Jaden Ivey when he gets healthy. Danis fits well with Duncan Robinson, with Cade. We saw that right the other night when he was in the starting lineup next to Cade as their off guard because he can shoot it so well. Like, he's also just so flexible, and he's got the size to be multi-positional. He's got the shooting ability and the ability to move off ball. Is kind of like a smart cutter, smart relocator to play next to a ball dominant guy. He can be the ball dominant guy. He's a guard that really can't do everything, and he plays defense.
Mm-hmm.
You don't find that on a two-way undrafted deal all that often. So that's a win. And, you know, I assume he's going to lose his minutes once Ivy comes back and is healthy, because there's just not enough rotation minutes to go around for five guards, right, to fit in. But that's not a detriment to what he's done so far. And I think that what he is doing should give you a lot of confidence that, hey, if you want to move a guard that's currently getting minutes, be that Ivy or LeVert or Robinson, you've got a guy in Danis that's going to step up, and you sign to a regular contract and admirably fills in, maybe, you know, brings something unique, right, that the other person wasn't. So yeah, love Danis Jenkins. It's been, I'm right through it. It's been one of the most fun parts about this winning streak is just, it's the Danis Jenkins show.
Yeah.
It's what he did in summer league every night, but he's doing it against NBA players. And hey, maybe we should have seen that coming, because he did it in summer league against Reed Shepherd, who also is looking pretty good. And he put that guy in a torture chamber on both ends. So heck yeah, man. Danis Jenkins. This is from a guy, Tony Bucket, says, what's more surprising to you, the big step forward the team took last year or this past week of victories?
That's a tough question, because I really thought when Cade was missing some time, it was just the end of the streak. It was fun while it lasted, but the step last year, I think I expected them to take a step last year. I just didn't expect them to take anything close to the step that they took. So just the sustainability in the season at full, I think my answer would be in general last year. The wins that they got last week are definitely surprising, with all the injuries that they were dealing with and the guys who ended up stepping up, and they found themselves in some tough situations and were able to win games. But I think when you just look at the whole body of work of last year, becoming the only team to triple your win total from the season before, that has to be the answer for me. But it's a good question, because I think it's closer than you'd think.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's pretty close. I'm going to lean to last year as well. I think the first game after Cade went out, where they went out and they won pretty handily with pretty much all backups, because Duren was out too. I think as soon as they did that and they kind of proved they have a way that they're going to play, and they're going to do that every night, they're taking the opportunity, right? A guy like Jenkins is taking this opportunity to grab the bull by the horns and try to make a name for himself. Same thing with Paul Reed. I think once they kind of proved that was going to be a consistent effort level, well, then it's not necessarily shocking that they've been winning games. It's shocking that they've won all of the games, right? But I would have guessed after that they were probably going to have a winning record, just based off of who they were playing. So last year, though, I think I was wrong by like 20 wins in my preseason prediction. So I'm going to say that was a little bit more surprising. But since we're talking about not last year, but we're talking about that Chicago game, let's listen here to a voicemail from our guy, a fella.
So, looking at this Chicago game. Oh, first off, this is a fella from the DBB comments, and as always, love the vibe. But looking at this Chicago game, what a win. It was amazing. But my question is, if you look at the 3-point makes and the attempts, Ron Holland, 1 for 3. Javonte Green, 0 for 2. Paul Reed, 2 for 2. Duncan Robinson, 7 for 10. Dennis Jenkins, 0 for 2. Chaz Lanier, 1 for 4. So my question is, how are the Pistons doing so well in this game during the streak when they have limited shooters? And how's that happening? But definitely in this game. Please break that down for us. All right, talk to you.
All right, Blake, what's the secret sauce?
Man, I think that's a great question because I think the shooting is the biggest question that you can look at through the first 15 games and moving forward. I think with the Chicago game specifically, Duncan Robinson obviously comes out and shoots the lights out. And it's funny because going into that game, I was like, okay, this might be a Chaz Lanier coming out party. He'll make a few threes and provide some big minutes and take advantage of his opportunity. He went 1 for 4, like a fella said. But yeah, you look at that game, no Piston made more than 2 threes other than Duncan Robinson. And the guys who made 2 were Paul Reed and Bobby Klintman, who was 2 for 6. So I think it's just that overarching theme of different guys having nights in different games. It's weird that they've been finding a sustainable way to win when you're not having a ton of success from the 3-point line, at least from more than 1 or 2 guys. Like Dennis Jenkins was 9 for 19 from the field that game and 0 for 2 from 3. So I really think it just there hasn't been a fully like off night really since the season opener where no one could make anything. You have Duncan Robinson go 7 for 10 for this game. Obviously, I don't think that's how you want to win every night, but if you're missing Cade Cunningham, you're missing Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart's not out there, you need to find someone. And Duncan Robinson stepped up that night. So I think it's just been that fact of someone or someone's having their day when the key players are out. And you don't want to see it go that way for the rest of the season, but it's nice to know if you are in a pinch, someone's probably going to step up, and that someone can even be the last guy on the roster, like we've seen so much over this incredible run.
And you know what really like makes all that happen, I think, and excuse my language here, but playing your ass off in the NBA regular season, that can win you games. Like I said this in the private chat for the Pistons Pulse. I think maybe it might have been last week, but I usually am not a guy that believes in like culture wins in the NBA. But all of these with Cade out and Stu out and Duren out, all those wins, those are culture wins to me. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know how to define it, but I guess I know it when I see it because that's what that was. Like JB Bickerstaff and the chemistry in this locker room, they just have these guys playing 100% for 48 minutes nonstop, all out. And it's not just, well, we're going to play hard, but it's also, it feels almost like, a guy like Paul Reed feels an obligation to step up and not let down his guys who are hurt. Dennis Jenkins feels like he has an obligation to be a good fill-in point guard until the main guys can come back. Like it almost, there's just a feel with this team, a vibe with this team that I know, at least in my time as a Pistons fan, I've not seen before. I don't think that I've really witnessed this. I came into really following Pistons basketball in like 06, 07. I think Ben had just left. Like, it wasn't quite this. So I truly think they've just got something kind of special brewing. They've got this unbelievable chemistry in the locker room right now where guys are going to battle for one another in a way like you look around the league and you just don't see it all that often. You got, Javonte Green playing his butt off, right? And he's been playing good all year, but like he steps up. They don't win some of these games without Javonte Green dropping 20 points here and there. Like it's just been really impressive to see that effort level carrying them to win. Actually, Billy Donovan said it after that Bulls game too, by the way, right? Like why did the Pistons win that game? Because Billy Donovan said, look, these guys are players. We have to understand that NBA players are NBA players on any given night. It doesn't matter who's over there. They can come out and beat you. And that's what that was. They played harder. They played faster. They were quicker. They were more physical. That's how they beat the Sixers too. That's what this has been.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard to like the vibes and everything. Like we see it because we're closely following the team, but it's something that's always hard to quantify. But like you said, I think this team really has it. And overall, I think credit to the defense in that game too. Like Chicago, they were more evenly spread out from three. But overall, they didn't shoot the lights out or anything like that. And Nikola Vucevic didn't make a three. Kevin Huerter didn't make a three. So I think they did good work on that end too. And then just finding ways to keep things going offensively, even if like Dennis Jenkins doesn't make a three that game, nor Javonte Green or Karis LeVert. So they're just finding a way, which has been awesome to watch.
All right, let's get two more questions in, and then apologies to others who have submitted. We'll shout you guys out here at the end if we got a question from you, but we didn't get around to asking or answering it yet. We are going to save those, so as long as they're evergreen and context doesn't change, we will try to hit on them in the future. But this is a fun one here from Pistons Fan 11 in our live chat. It says, I want to ask if the NBA Cup is important to the Pistons. And how likely is the team to advance at 3-1 versus 4-0? What do you think?
So that's a tough one because obviously the point differential matters. So right now the Pistons and the Magic are both 2-0 in their group. The Pistons are on top with the point differential with 7 more than the Magic. So I mean, if you beat the Magic and lose to the Celtics, then that's a way to advance. But then you have to beat the Celtics in the differential, or just like come out on top in general. I think it's super important. I think all teams want to win. I have fun with it, even if some of the courts are wild and unwatchable and everything like that. But I think this team wants to go to Vegas. Like, why not? And play on that stage early in the season to help you moving on. We know their chemistry is great, but there are new faces in the locker room. Some guys are missing time. So it'll only help moving forward. So I think it has to be super important, but I think they're in a good position to advance with their start in the first 2 games.
People kind of poo-poo the NBA Cup. I don't get it. It's fun. It's just another reason to have teams kind of feel like there's a little bit more on the line. And teams seem to play that way. If for no other reason that they know if they're getting blown out, they're going to get it run up on them. And if there's one thing NBA players don't like, I'd have to imagine it's the other team running it up in a blowout. I didn't like that as a player And I know I never played in the NBA. Like if little old me hated it so much, I'm sure those guys just despise it on a whole other level. So I like the NBA Cup. I'm having fun with it. I think the Pistons think it's important too, because you know what? If you want to come out and make a statement, you want to say to the league, like, we are legit. You have to reckon with the Pistons come playoff time. I think going out and being a contender for real in the NBA Cup would be a good way to do that. I know that the recent history of that is not super strong, but if you're just thinking narratively, don't you think that the Pistons players are thinking that? Don't you think that like Cade is thinking in the back of his head, like, if we could go out and win the NBA Cup, that sends a message? Don't you think that's where these guys are at? So yeah, I think this is really important to them. I think you could see that with the way they've played so far. They've got the Celtics next, and then they've got the Magic. All right. And so I feel pretty good about that Celtics game. I think the Magic game is the swing here. They've probably got a good shot at 3-1 if they're in. Like if I'm just looking at the point differentials for the non-leaders, right? In all of these different groups for the East. You got the Cavs are tied in their group. They're not tied. They're 1-1, so they're second in their group. But they've got a plus 23 point differential. The Magic right now are a plus 20. And then the Group C is a -6. So like, I think they might be able to sneak on in even if they don't win, if I'm remembering correctly on how the brackets actually get set up. Like there's a knockout round, right? Yeah. So I think they've got a pretty good shot as it stands right now of sneaking in there. You're worried about the Cavs and the Raptors, probably. Those are your other competitors for those. But I mean, go beat the Magic.
Yeah.
They've already beaten the Magic. Go beat the Magic, right? They already beat the Celtics. Go beat the Celtics again.
Yeah.
We know that they could beat these teams. So that's what I'd say. I say go 4-0. Like, throw it all at it.
And I believe that Magic NBA Cup game is at home. The Magic already played their home games. So that'll be the last one. And just go and win that game. That makes things a heck of a lot easier. So I think it's super important. And with how well the team is playing, like, they're in a good position. Obviously, there's a lot more work to do, but you have to want it. And there's some good cash on the line too for separately from how good it would be for the team in general.
All right, last question here. This is a good one from a fella, again, as a voicemail.
So, this is a fella from the DPP comments, and another question for you. We got a great extended look at the rotation pieces for the Pistons. What stood out to you, other than the obvious easy one, Paul Reed, Dennis Jenkins? But did anybody else stand out to you in a positive way? How, why, and what does that mean for the future? All right, look forward to hearing y'all.
All right, let's wrap it up with this, because we've given flowers to Duren. We've given flowers to Dennis Jenkins. We gave Paul Reed a little shout out there. Isaiah Stewart got a shout out too. Who else? Who is someone from this win streak that you're burning to talk about here before we wrap up the show, Blake?
I mean, man, it's got to be Javonte Green. Like, we talked about him a little bit before, but just another incredible signing for Trajan Langdon right up against the regular season. Sure, he's had some nights where he hasn't been as involved or as impactful, but he's had a couple 20-point games against the Sixers and then again against the Pacers. And you talk about Dennis Jenkins being a Piston, Javonte Green similarly too. Like, that video of him wiping his sweat on the ball goes kind of viral, and Keaton Wallace
gross but awesome.
Yeah, misses a free throw because of it. Like that. Yeah, gross but awesome. Exactly. He's been good. I mean, he can definitely improve his shooting efficiency and everything, but he's a solid rotation wing. I think when the signing happened, we weren't sure if he was even going to be in the rotation, but he still at least has to have some minutes once everyone is back and fully healthy, because he's been huge as a rotation piece in this win streak as well.
Man, I can't stop thinking about before the season started. We had our guy Bobby Buckets on. We got asked the question, the three of us, like, what are some lineup combinations you are most excited to see? And Blake, you got up there and you said, well, it starts with Javonte Green, and we all laughed at you. We were fools, Blake.
Well,
we laughed at you.
I was joking, and I feel like I need to apologize to Javonte Green, because he's anything.
No. You weren't joking. You were being serious, and you were right, man. He's been so fun to watch. He's a Piston. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. He just is physical, undersized wing, plays up a position instead of down. How could you not love what he's been given? Although I do wish that the broadcast crew didn't find out about his nickname, because that's led to some iffy George Blaha moments, in my opinion. I love George.
Wait, what is the name? I missed this.
Woo.
Oh, I had no idea.
He keeps calling him, and he's like slipping it into the. I could live without the woo from.
Okay.
But you know what? If that's the one ill of Javonte Green, I'm happy with that. I'll suffer. It'll be okay. All right, last one. Karis LeVert to me.
Yeah,
he's been playing. It's just so great to see him get his sea legs under him. So I think Karis LeVert kind of stepping up and showing that, yep, this is the guy you thought you were getting when you signed him. Real good backup combo guard. Can play a little bit of the one, better at the two as a secondary ball handler, but he can really do it all. Shoot it off the bounce, shoot it off the catch, as long as he's open. If he's contested, but so he's got a little bit of floor spacing to him, and I've been impressed with his defense too. I think he's been a solid defender, and I wasn't skeptical of it, but I was really curious to see what we were going to get out of him on that end of the ball. So I think Javonte Green's a good one, and then Karis LeVert getting his sea legs back has been really fun to watch.
Yeah, nothing flashy there, but I mean, he missed some games too, and getting back from that, he's done a good job as well, and I think can get better and helps with obviously floor spacing in the second unit, which we know how big that is for this team in general. Before we sign off, Wes, you for our guy Thomas, you got to shout out your dog, a fellow nasty dog per Dennis Jenkins. Everyone.
She really needed attention during this show. If you guys weren't watching, if you're just listening to it on the podcast, I was lucky I was muted. She actually growled at she'll growl to get attention, because she's just a little princess and she needs some loves. But yeah, so she was doing that, Blake, while you were talking. And but it's my fault. I was gone for a little bit before we recorded, then I came back and I hopped right on the show. So you can't blame her, right?
No,
nasty dogs. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
She needs her pets. So that's great. They need all the attention too. But yeah, shout out to everyone for joining, and Afella for using the voice line again. Definitely. Anyone feel free to call that number, ask a question, hear your voice on the show. The phone number for that is 313-355-2717. And special thanks to our guy, Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. And shout out to you guys for all the great questions and talking points tonight. We'll catch you next week, whether on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball with you all.